been equally as critical of my team as I have of the Raiders, for the record. Okay, for the record, is that's where in those last games where it doesn't matter, you start bringing in practice squad, young guys, UDFAs, and you start to cycle in the younger dudes to see maybe what you may have for next season for the benefit of what that might be, how that might work, et cetera, et cetera. But no, I completely disagree with the general take of no, you keep on giving him the dude the ball. The guy blew it, and he needs to suffer the consequences of blowing it. I'm sorry, it's just a fact.
Majority rules, boo you wrong.
It wasn't that they like literally he got one starting carry and fumbled the football against probably arguably one of the two best defensive ends in NFL, known for punching the ball out.
Yep.
And didn't get another fucking play.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Just that.
By the way,
but my answer to that is yes, of course.
If the Steelers don't pay him, they're retarded. I said the R word. Sorry.
No, you should be using a capital R. That's the important part.
Right, capital R. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. If you expected a different answer from me on that one, you're wrong.
Right.
But so here, I don't want to get all hung up on this, but this is kind of where my general take on this stuff is. All right, Von Miller, Denver Bronco legend, pass rusher. Like the bend that he had there was just like raw.
Probably one of the best guys coming out of college, dude.
Yeah, like no player should be able to bend at like a 90-degree angle or even more so at full speed and then be able to just do what he was able to do, right? Like he is better than TJ Watt, in my opinion, like by a long shot at this stage. I actually think Von Miller was a more productive player and certainly more feared in some regards than TJ Watt in punch for punch, year for year, in my opinion, just for what it's worth.
Yeah, well, definitely in his prime, sure.
Yeah,
healthier.
Yeah,
healthier for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So okay, cool. So we can kind of agree in terms of the type of guy, who you're working against, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, fantastic. Well, guess what? If I'm going against a guy like Von Miller, who is a speed bend guy, as an offensive coordinator, I'm not going to put a guy on the right tackle or left tackle position who struggles with speed rushers and is not quick at planting his feet, as an example, right? So, and if I choose to leave that guy on an island, like the Kansas City Chiefs back then, they did. I'm sorry, they did it, and I wish Alex was here because he'd agree with me for sure, 100%. Von Miller ate the right tackle of the Kansas City Chiefs for breakfast and spat him out, and then laughed and danced on his grave in a couple games. Like, it was bad. Okay, so you don't leave a dude like that on an island. Now, flipping the coin. If I'm a running back and I'm coming in for my first game and it's my first carry and I know that this is my opportunity, I'm being given the opportunity of my career at this stage of the game to date. Now, that doesn't mean he won't get another opportunity later, but to date, this is the most important carry of his entire football career. He has one job. He can do anything else with the ball. He can go down behind the line of scrimmage. He can run into the back of an offensive lineman, and most offensive coordinators are going to be like, dude, you were nervous. I get it. The only thing he could not do was allow the ball to get punched out of his hands and to turn it over, and that's what he did.
He was breaking that run. He'd never seen anything like TJ Watt.
I don't care how you justify it.
Oh, that's how I justify
it. No, but that's what I'm saying. I don't care how we justify it. He had one job.
Shot at it and never gets another chance.
Yeah, that's my biggest point. Richie, I agree with Nazman. I agree with Jack. I agree with you, Richie. My whole, like, your sentiment, Richie, makes 100% sense.
Absolutely.
My whole thing is, it's like, yeah, dude, you really effed up big time.
Yeah.
Get on that ride that you're gonna ride that pine pony, buddy. You're going to learn Greenhorn. But the thing is, you know, I don't know what game the Raiders played the Steelers last season. We played them 3. I don't know what game. I think it was 5 for you guys, week 5 or something. I'm not 100%. If you guys know, let me know. But hey, what's up, Angelo? But the thing is this kid with Zamir, with everything that was going on in the organization, with AP, with the defense, with everything, he should have been given another chance in that season, especially when they saw that season, was going downhill.
In the end, I completely agree.
But it didn't happen.
100%.
That's what I was saying.
With Nabman here and Jack, let's get the third Raiders guy while we have 2 Raiders here on the show, and then we'll let Nabman go.
Hey, can I say something real fast while some folks are coming on from my show because I just streamed?
Yeah.
So, hey, you guys, those of you that are on my channel, please subscribe to Rich and DZ. These guys freaking put on a great show.
I don't have a channel yet. Real quick, man. We're working on it. It's in the works.
Okay, but you guys are here. Please freaking sub to these guys. They sub to me. Yep. They're Broncos faithful. We know when the season starts, it's going to be different.
Oh, yeah.
We like to talk with one another, have a good time, and all that stuff. It's going to be a little different. Don't get me wrong when the season starts.
It's like peacetime right now, Navman. We're in peacetime.
It's a ceasefire.
Yes, there you go. Better. That's a better term. It's a ceasefire right now.
There you go.
Sooner than later, they're gonna give us the green light. You know what I mean? So
it's on at that point.
Yeah, then it's on like Donkey Kong.
Just helps everybody out. Helps everybody out with good shows. That's
I agree.
That's all it does.
I agree. And the Raiders are definitely now into competent coaching, which I hate, but I'm sure Raiders fans love. So that's everything is about perspective. And so with that in mind, and keeping the other thing that a lot of Raiders fans here may struggle with, right, is guys that may have fit the potential of former regimes. And even though they may have potential on other teams, and you may even see them leave your team and do well elsewhere, that's okay. That doesn't mean that they're going to fit what your coach and what your team wants to do. Right. And so I think you're going to see some challenging cuts where you guys are going to be like, I can't believe Pete just cut that dude because, I liked him or whatever. But don't be surprised to start seeing some more prominent players leave your team because maybe they don't match the culture, maybe they don't match the style of play, or maybe they don't match the scheme that Pete was wanting to try to evolve to. Not necessarily what you're playing now, but he may want to evolve your team into a different scheme down the road. With that in mind, what are your thoughts, Nabman and Jack, on the third surprise 53-man roster cut player?
You want to go first?
No, Jack, go ahead, because I think we agree on it.
I don't know. I got a couple positions that
you just said one.
Be surprise cuts, but I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go D line. I'm going to have to talk about the D line. It really all depends on Christian Wilkins, health. To be honest with you, I just look at what they have at defensive tackles. Well, that's like, again, a surprise, right?
Ooh.
It's not always obvious.
Ooh.
So I'm not saying Christian Wilkins is getting cut, but it's based on if he can play or not play is going to make a difference because that's an extra roster spot. So I'm looking at it this way here as if he hasn't had surgery yet. So I'm not ruling him out, to start the season until they say, hey, he's done, then he's not done. So that's the way I got to look at this. So if you look at you got Christian Wilkins and Adam Butler. Those are your starting 2. They brought over last year John Alanu, which he actually played pretty well. I kind of like the kid. But then they pick up a Leki Fotu, who's really the only true nose tackle on a team, at 338 pounds. You draft J.J. Peace, and you also draft Tonka Hemingway. So you draft 2 defensive tackles. So It's like how how many guys are they going to keep? And you still already have, on there, you got Tank Booker and, is also on a defensive line. So I'm thinking that there's no more than they're probably going to keep like 6, maybe 6, 5. So out of those guys, I think it really kind of boils down to and also plus Tyree Wilson, he's a tweener, from the outside, defensive end. He actually had better success, kind of like Cleve Farrell did, when he was playing for the Raiders.
We talked about it, maybe possibly coming on the inside, Jack.
Yeah, they moved him on the inside for part of the year last year. So kind of like on the NASCAR package, third down type thing. So he's gonna be splitting. So I'm like, because you're not gonna get rid of the guys you just drafted. So it's like between Lanu and Fodu. I think Lanu is probably a better overall defensive tackle, but Fodu is again a true nose tackle. So, and none of the guys they drafted are nose tackles. So, for a surprise cut, which I don't want him to see him go, because I like him as a player, but I think Lecky Fodu could be a potential surprise cut. Just because, again, if Wilkins healthy, how many guys are you going to keep on that roster? So he's he'd be like kind of my surprise cut. So I'm sure you got something different in mind than what I was thinking.
You say surprise cut, but what we haven't seen, and I know this is a cautious answer. What we haven't seen is what the pads are going to look like.
Right.
Come July 12th, when rookie minicamp starts, they get all the NFL mandated freaking rookie stuff, right? I will tell you this: Tyree still is cheap, so it's going to be hard to cut him.
Good point.
And the potential there, and where we drafted him at, be tough to cut him.
Yeah, if we were to cut Tyree Wilson, Raiders would save $7,956,000. There's no dead cap money on his contract at all.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what: when you cut a rookie, you take.
I don't like cutting rookies. Yeah,
you cut somebody on a rookie contract, you're a dumbass. I'm just saying.
I absolutely agree.
Unless it's an absolute freaking shit show. So, my take on that is, if Malcolm Kuntz comes out to be what Max and everybody says he's going to be after the injury, I don't know. Just don't know what they're going to do with him, because they have said that Tyree can move inside, but it hasn't happened yet. He took some minicamp reps inside, but everybody did. Even Max took minicamp reps.
No, he did get some playing on the inside this last season. They wanted him to work on his hand skills, is what they wanted, instead of being a one-trick pony, bull rush type player.
Okay, but you asked me what I was thinking, right? My thinking is this: Tyree's biggest issues is get off. He can't get off the freaking line fast enough for whatever fucking reason. But his speed up the field and strength up the field is unmatched. I mean, so that's why he should be inside.
Do you think he's still having a lingering foot issue?
I think so too. I think it is.
Because that might have to do with his get off, right? Like, there might, Tyree is too small to be on the inside too. So I didisagree, Matt. I disagree.
No, I agree with that 100%. But so Jack was like kind of down the lane where I was thinking, because the thing about it is, he's not your prototypical defensive tackle.
Sure.
But he's strong as shit. And his legs are freaking powerful. I mean, dude can squat a Mack truck.
People got to understand, stunts are a thing, especially you guys running a 4-3 with Graham. I mean,
if that's what we run, that's the thing. I just don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just say,
you're
just coming out of like a base defense, right? Like Matt
There's
says,
gonna be a lot of zero.
he's too small. I disagree, man. Especially with a guy like, okay, say the Raiders draft him. You guys have played him at edge. He's had this hampering foot issue, right? He's been a kind of like a non-factor at that edge. You know, he was supposed to be Crosby's pairing, right? Like they were supposed to be your bookends on the D line. Well, it's coming out that's not working too well. So what I see a lot of teams doing is they're like, put on some weight, and we're gonna have you, start on the end, and we're gonna stunt you inside, or we're gonna put you on inside on packages, kind of like Jack was saying, NASCAR stuff. You can be like a 280, 290 guy.
Yeah.
On as a D tackle, you're just on the lighter side. It just depends on what scheme. But there's different downs for it and stuff. But as a 3-down guy, no, probably not as a D tackle, man.
Well, ask Chris Jones about being under 300 pounds and being a freaking best defensive tackle in the freaking NFL.
Well, Chris Jones, Nav, is a different effing beast, man.
I'm with you. He's a totally different animal.
That guy is there's a few, it's him. It was why am I forgetting his name? The Rams got Aaron Donald. Yeah. Aaron Donald, like just some of these guys.
Christian Wilkins.
Yeah, dude. And look, if I know you guys are diehard Raiders fans, right? Bleed black and silver and stuff. Like I would be punching holes through my drywall if like I had that Wilkins thing going on in my team right now.
Sucks, man. It does suck.
Paying all that money, bringing him over, like just having that force in the middle. And
DZ,
go ahead.
You didn't see this before, but Nabman's area there had drywall all over the place.
I know, that's what I'm saying. There's no drywall left.
I mean, he got so angry with it all. It's all gone now.
Yeah, it's all gone. I got rid of it.
Look,
I was punching the ceiling.
So I just looked up Tyree, right? And
275.
275, 6'6". That's really long, right? Especially being inside. But if he can make it work, which is weird. The most interesting thing that has nothing to do with what we're talking about is he's born in Alaska. Is he a military baby? Anybody know?
I don't know.
Who's that?
Tyree Wilson.
I don't know.
Anyways,
and if I don't know, it probably is the answer.
It's not hard for this guy, especially in the off season, maybe due to his frame, to put on 10 pounds, 10, 15 pounds.
And if he's doing what he says he's doing, working out with Max and Malcolm and those guys are putting on freaking muscle.
I love Malcolm Kuntz, man.
I
hate liking players on opposing teams. This pisses me off. Damn it.
I hope Malcolm just goes off. Because no more doubles for freaking Max. If that's the case, what are you going to do over there then?
Yeah. I must be getting to a point where I'm like, when I was a kid, I was like, I don't give a shit who you're playing for. I wanted to kill your family. Now that I'm older, I'm like, dude, I love Malcolm Kuntz, man. I love Cortland Sutton. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
I love Cortland Sutton. I wanted Jack can tell you, I'm like, oh wait, there's a rumor that Sutton might be available. I know I'm not a big fan of freaking working in the division, but I want that fucking guy. He comes to us and he's no longer a threat to us. I want that.
I don't want him.
I know. I love him.
You notice this one dude in the chat does nothing but try to bring like interesting freaking commentary to himself. Talks like he's freaking 13 and shit. Do you notice that guy? Anybody notice him?
Just a wee bit.
Okay. Just wondering if you did.
Slide out.
So my issue. That's funny. My issue with Cortland Sutton is that he hasn't really been really the same guy. I mean, like really the same guy since he got hurt. He used to get a little bit more physical in his catch points and that kind of stuff. He's not really doing that as much anymore.
Right.
And he lost that extra gear that he used to have. So what made something really interesting actually was he was that old school, like, I hate to compare him to a Broncos great because I do think he is a Broncos great, and that's Demaryius Thomas. So
88?
Demaryius Thomas,
Wow.
yeah, 88. Like Demaryius Thomas was that like interesting blend of size and speed where
Mhm.
where he was just like that, like good luck catching him. And not only that,
Dude.
that once you did catch him, he was bigger than you because he was bigger than all of the defensive backs, right? And so the thing that Sutton had was he wasn't the fastest guy off the line, but then once he got going, he actually had speed.
Route runner.
And yeah, he was a good route
Yeah.
runner. So he actually had speed. He had the extra stuff that is actually difficult to find.
And
Richie, your best wide receiver since Demaryius Thomas was a guy that's no longer on your team. He just couldn't, just injuries, too many injuries. Tim Patrick.
oh,
I have
God,
his jersey. He's my guy. He's
Tim
been my guy.
Patrick-
Like he's
Amazing.
Tim
he's my guy.
Patrick that was Thomas 2.0. It
Yep.
just, it doesn't work out for some of these guys. Like we drafted a guy, Jason Verrett, man, and was one of the best cornerbacks I had seen since like Cromartie for the Chargers, and
He
his
was on my
body
team for a
just,
little bit.
yeah,
just
his
failed him.
body
His
just
body
failed
failed him.
him.
Yep.
He made stops at Niners, Broncos. I don't know which one was first. It's just it hurts to see these guys because they're so gifted, and it just for one reason or another, they just cannot come back from these injuries or whatever, and it sucks, And that's one of the guys, Bosa. He's a Bill now, but it's just does not happen. Like his body's just failing him. Period, dude. It's just a avalanche of shit going on with him.
few years for him's been freaking
Yeah,
freaking
hell.
unthought of.
I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad it's a whole new change.
Cherry Smirnoff Ice does that to you.
I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a White Claw, wasn't it? A White Claw?
Oh yeah.
No, it was Smirnoff Ice.
Whatever the fuck it was. I think he was wearing Niners gear.
It was him and his
Support
brother. It was him and his brother. They were drinking Smirnoff Ice. Like it was.
No,
come
it
on,
was
dude.
him and his brother's wife or girlfriend, and he was wearing Niners gear. When I saw him, because he was supporting his brother, but when I saw him wearing that, I was like, because
Get out of
look,
here. Yeah.
the only time, real quick story, I hate to go on tangents, but the only time Chargers ever went to the Super Bowl was against the Niners, right? We got mollywopped against the Niners. Mollywopped, right? And ever since then, when I was a kid, I was like, F the Niners for the rest of my life. F them. I will death to San Francisco, F Santa Clara, NorCal. I want to cut that shit off, send it out in the ocean. Sorry, Jack. I hated them my whole life. I hated them more than
not hurting our feelings at all.
I know, because look, Oakland, and I know you guys got your beef, and then that's worn down. It's worn down over the years. Now I'm like, now I hate everybody equally. But but when I saw him, Richie, rocking Niners jacket, I was like, nah, dude. But this is what's going on in today's NFL. Everybody wants everybody's jersey. Hey, dude, let me get your jersey. I saw the Eagles were asking Burrow during the game for his jersey. I'm like, what the hell is going on? What is going on? The NFL is getting soft. It's getting weird. It's getting too, like, new age for me in a way. Is this why I have to drink every time when I turn on the game on Sundays? Because we got Gen 7th, Gen Alpha, whoever the hell is out there. These guys are painting their fingernails. I'm not with this, Richie. I'm not with this. Like,
no, I'm not either. And I'm,
Neither am I.
I am. I think you and I are probably younger than both Jack and Nabman.
Sure.
Oh,
yeah.
wait, stop. What?
I don't know what these guys like in their
Let's
40,
talk about who
42.
looks older, Rich.
What?
Let's talk about who looks older. I mean, typically Canadians look older than they are.
Of course. Welcome to the winter.
They've been in the cold for so many months.
Yeah, welcome to the winter, dude. Like, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, like if you think that's gonna be some kind of like zinger, it ain't gonna work on me.
Zinger.
But yeah, like wow, there's something I've never heard and won't agree with. But anyways, like yeah, it's the winters are brutal here. Like, I mean, Jack has been on the show and had been in the audience. DZ's been on the show and in the audience. Like, I sent them photos of my backyard last winter. I mean, I had packed down
Oh,
snow
the
on my
ice
back
storm.
deck, and the ice storm was like
Oh,
insane, like insane.
Jesus.
It was nuts.
Like it was like
Snow is
I
one thing, but the ice,
yeah,
nah.
like I had like 2.5 inches of ice in one
Yeah.
shot.
You told me
Like,
about that. It's freaking
Yeah, like
unreal.
in one shot. Like I have photos. Like you'll never see anything like it. I promise. Because
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it, and neither my parents. And like they got me by a few years, and so it's it's really something else. But yeah, so when we look ahead at at how the game has progressed and what we're looking at, I believe in the old style. Like rivalries used to be a thing. Like there used to be this thing where like Raiders and Broncos, like there will never, like for example, here, let's use this as a great one. You will never hear Shannon Sharp, despite all of his flaws, and there are many. You will never hear him say, "Oh, the Raiders are awesome." Right?
Right.
Like you know what I mean? Like that will never happen. And there are Raiders greats, and there are many of them. You will never hear them turn around and say, "Oh, I loved playing against John Elway. He was such a great quarterback."
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, like okay. And those dudes are in their like mid 50s. And because that's like they were the young dudes that were in the league
Yeah.
back then and all that kind of stuff. And similarly you got like the how
Here's your
Howie.
sign.
Yeah, you got all these guys that are on TV that are like of the old ilk that
Yeah.
used to play in the
Yeah.
NFL, and they all, for example, one dude in the chat here just made a joke that I look like Mark Schlereth. He and I have actually chatted a
Wow.
few
No
times.
shit.
Yeah,
You do actually. I didn't
yes.
never put
Yeah, that was a good bring up on his part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mark Schlereth and I have actually spoken, and I think we follow each other on X, which is kind of funny. But it's just it's humorous. But nonetheless, the point is you're never going to hear Mark come out here and be like, "I love the Raiders,"
Right.
like ever.
Dude, we
Like-
need players,
like
Richie.
hell,
We need
hell,
players
hell
on our
throws over
team.
twice over before he ever says that. You know what I mean? Like that's just not happening. And you know what? And as a Raiders fan, you're like, I get it, no problem, right? Of course, there's going to be a natural rivalry between two divisional opponents that have gone at
Sure.
each other twice a year for like 10 years. Of course, there's going to be a natural butting of the heads. But the other thing that I think that is playing into this, and I want to just quickly finish off the last two teams before we end the show here, which is I think one of the reasons why we have the NFL the way that we have it now today is there is absolutely no loyalty to the players anymore from the teams.
That's probably true.
And
Free agency
and so
stuff,
Free
too.
and
agency,
so
yeah.
so as an example, let's just put it this way: it is a rarity, and I mean like beyond rare, even for your team's greats. Like in today's NFL, I'm using just recency bias here as as kind of a testing strip, if you will. Look at a guy like Von Miller. Even Von Miller was sent packing by the Denver Broncos, and he's going to be Ring of Fame, and I don't even have to think about it.
Dude,
You know what I
we
mean?
sent Junior Seau and LT packing.
Right.
Like, what
Exactly.
the fuck?
So, but that's my point, right? Is that the all-time greats of your teams in today's day and age, with it seems actually the exception may well be the Raiders, actually, in Max Crosby, because they keep on extending him and bumping his contract up to kind of keep him with them for the entirety of his career. But in today's NFL, by and large, just generally speaking, like it's just a fact. Guys get their big contract from the team that if they're good enough to get so, and then typically after that, they're basically kicked to the curb. They are not treated with the loyalty that they once were by teams past. And I think that that's where these division rivals really came from, which was Mark Schlereth, like was ingrained and entrenched in the Broncos culture. And of course the Broncos and Raiders had this like, you know, loggerhead rivalry that is, storied for generations, in terms of how the Broncos and Raiders played each other. But these players are not with the team long enough for them to actually have that ingrained into their psyche. And as a result, it's more of a player first, team second mentality now, as opposed to team first, player second.
Richie, you bring up a good point because I used to see Rivers and LT down in San Diego. They would do their pressers. LT would roll up with a T-shirt, cut sleeve T-shirt. It's Raider week. Something about the Raiders, and if Rivers would say the same thing, and these guys, I did say LT ended up still going to the Jets or wherever the hell it was, but it was the rivalries meant something, to these guys, to the team. And, I was like looking kind of like at my current roster, and I'm sure it still means something, but it doesn't show like how we remember growing up, right?
Right.
We have Khalil Mack, right? Like on our team, he was a Raider, started out as a Raider, Bear, now Charger. It meant something for him to play against his Raiders when we first got him against Derek Carr and stuff. And I'm looking at other players, some of these old school mentalities like Derwin James and Denzel Perryman, who did briefly stop with the Raiders. But then I'm looking around, I'm like, you guys, this isn't like rainbows, sugar pops, like dudes, like this is a rivalry. This is something that the majority of your fan base growing up with. We hate those guys on Sunday. So let's not do this whole holding hands crap and asking for jerseys.
Right.
And I'm looking at within. I know Max is that guy for the Raiders. I know Kuntz is that guy for the Raiders. I know those guys are like down. JPJ, he looks like he's going to be a lifetime Raider. He looks like ready to die for the black and silver.
One of the best draft picks we've ever made.
Yeah, and we all hate it because everybody, Richie, me, Alex, when he was here, we all had that guy. Like, we want this dude, we want that duck on our team. It didn't happen. You guys got it. I mean, Tom Telesco one time knocked out of the park.
And to add on to it,
He did pretty good with
Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers was exchanged jerseys with Kelsey when we played him.
Well, guess what? Guess what, Jack? Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey are like best friends. That pisses me off. I'm like, what the hell? So you guys are rivals, like this AFC West. I remember, the Seahawks used to be in the West as well. No longer, but like, there's some storied shit here, brother. Like, I don't know. I hope these guys do their homework
and DZ, that they played, college ball together on the same team. So I mean, yeah. So they're gonna have that, that type of friendship. What I also see it's interesting, which from the players of today, from the players of yesterday, like we were just talking about Denver's, defensive end, great player, but he's holding like camps. You got defensive end camps, you got tight end camps. So you're getting all these guys are all getting together to learn each other's game to get that paycheck, right? Back in the old days, they would be like, I'm not going to teach you anything. I'm going to keep that to myself. And I'm not going to share my knowledge.
You brought up a good point. The vets really didn't babysit the rooks like they do in today's game. They were kind of like, hey, man, you're going to learn the hard way.
No, that's not true.
What I mean is you don't want to share your knowledge to a competitor on a different roster.
Go ahead, Richie.
It's that. Actually, sorry, that. Sorry, Jack is correct. There is some crosstalk there that I don't agree with. The vets used to, on the same team, elevate the rookies that
Yep.
were on their same team to ensure that the team itself would do better.
Sure, but I've heard a
However,
lot of
what is
stories
now
where that wasn't
different
the
between
case.
what you well, not all positions, but generally, general. Oh no. Oh no. But generally speaking, what would happen is that the vet wouldn't volunteer information, but if the rookie were to approach the veteran to show that he was a competent individual and a guy that wanted to learn, most of the vets would share that information with the rookies when they asked, but they had to ask for it. They didn't sit there and hold their hand and walk them out to practice or some nonsense like that. That I agree with. But what Jack said is 100% correct. You never had a guy like Von Miller in days of old running a pass rush camp where he invited all of the other pass rushers from the entire league and
Like
said,
the tight
"Hey
end
guys,
camps is
here's
what I
how I
mean.
did it." Like
From what I was told,
that never happened. Ever.
yeah, no, you're right. No, and I'm seeing it too. You're right. But from what I was told from some guys, Niner guys, believe it or not, um, and this is kind of going to maybe early 2000s and maybe like late 90s, early 2000s is they weren't volunteering anything until that rookie proved it to them essentially because their whole
Correct.
mindset was
Yeah.
this guy's taking my damn job, so F him. Like I watched this guy get drafted to take my job. I'm not here to volunteer and like, hey dude, this is how you step inside and this is what you look for. They're not sharing that. It seems like now teams are drafting guys and they're like, hey, this is your replacement essentially. Show him the ropes and then peace out. See you later. And that's essentially what happens every year on every damn team. From and that is to what Richie's point was saying earlier is watering down our league, but most of all our rivalry with the Chiefs, with the Broncos, with the Chargers, the Raiders. Each share special games, special rivalries with each other, which made those games so much better. Which I'm hopeful with these four coaches in this division, with who we've got now, that it's going to be popcorn season, man. Every damn game from here on out. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm. Look, dude, I was telling Jack earlier. I was watching a show. The Violator was on the Coach JB show on YouTube, a show I watch in the morning, and Violator was talking about Pete Carroll, and he's like saying age is just a number, and I agree. If Pete's up and feeling froggy and ready to rock and roll, because the outside noise is like, oh, there's only a few years for Pete. You know what I mean? But people don't also realize that they got Spycheck who turned that, who's in Tampa Bay, who got Tampa Bay rocking and freaking rolling. And for Chargers fans, Tampa Bay smacked our ass last season. We had no answer for them, none, zero. And we never fared well against the Seahawks with
Broncos
Pete.
killed them.
Up there. Yeah, remember we talked about this just a few weeks ago. It's weird.
Broncos killed them. We killed them.
They beat our. Oh man, I was like, what the hell's going on? I give up. White flag. But Violator made up some good points. He didn't give away some stuff, even though he's a rival. The information he had to share on the show was some really good stuff. Just being a fan, but you can tell he's seen stuff. Prior to me. I'm only 41, so it's just I liked it. I like the rivalry. It's different. I'm not in San Diego anymore. The team's in LA. I live on the East Coast now, so but I'm still diehard, and I hope that rivalry comes back. And
let's jump into your third guy.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we've been rambling. My last third guy. So this is kind of surprising, and I don't think fans would agree with this, but it was a name I threw out there. It's Darius Davis. He was one of our picks along with QJ Year, another guy we got out of TCU. There's a reason why I picked him. He's 5'8", 165, runs a 4.3. And he could be, up for a bigger role this season. He's primarily been used as a special teams guy, especially with that speed, right? Speed and stature. But he played 15 games last season with the offense, and our offense struggled last season. It wasn't great, even though all these stats say otherwise. 13 receptions, 17 targets, only 112 yards and 2 targets. So I'm like, he was primarily a special teams guy and just, filled in on the offense. Well, they drafted another guy, I believe in the same round or round after, in KLS, Keandre Lambert Smith out of Auburn, who was a 4-year guy at Penn State, who is 6'1", 182, and runs a 4.3 as well. Well, yeah. I mean, in his last season at Auburn, he was just shy of 1,000 yards, 8 tutties. He had averaged 81 yards a game. Just really good stats at Auburn. Sorry. And the only problem is KLS, who a lot of fans are excited about. He didn't show up to minicamp due to some nagging injury or something, right? So he's already a step behind. Everything I've heard, he's ready to rock for camp, but this is a guy I can see potentially taking Darius Davis's job due to the fact that he can play special teams and also on the offense and be a contributor due to he's got size and speed, right? 6'1", 4'3". Those are jets. You always want a guy with that type of speed, and he's got great film. He's got great highlights at Auburn and some stuff at Penn State. So that's my last guy, and that might be a crazy take, but we'll see.
No, it makes sense.
I mean,
you're talking 5'8" to 6'1", and if you're running just as fast,
yeah,
you got your bigger body guy that can do the same thing. It makes a lot of sense.
The problem is,
kind of reminds me of like a guy the Raiders had last year. They used him slightly on special teams, and then he was on the Broncos before. I forgot his name. He was a running back. Maybe Nab or Rich will remember who he was, but super fast guy, but small. Same thing, like 5'8".
Yeah. The only problem is
guys, I gotta go.
All right, Nav.
Hey, I've been trying to tell you quietly. Hey, I gotta go. I gotta go. Hey, appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, Nav,
cigarette, man. You're
he does the military salute.
Somebody asked me to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he does.
That's the way it rolls.
Hey, Nav, be careful with that smoke. You're gonna hit your eye, and you'll burn your eye out. We don't want that. So
it's in this hand. It's in this hand.
That's good.
Canadian.
It was
right-handed.
Nobody was off.
United States of America.
Trust me, I understand. But anyways, you have yourself a great evening.
Man, good.
Thanks for joining the show real quick.
Thanks for stopping by, man.
Good to see you, man.
Raider Shield family, catch his show. He's going to be on live in parallel with us. Don't go see him until we're done here, though. But after that, go check him out. And thanks, guys.
Hey, I do want to say something to Hero from Sacktown Raider Mike. That's Sacktown's freaking favorite. That's what Sacktown told me to do when I come on the show. If he's there, give him that. He brings it from the bottom, gives him that. Bro, bring it the fuck on, bro.
I love
Get
it.
the fuck out of my life.
I love it.
I've never seen a single person live rent free in so many people's minds. We'll just
no shit, there. Right?
Anyway,
I'm out. Love you all.
All right. Peace, brother.
So, you brought up an intro. I don't know that dude, Jack. I mean, we had Philip Lindsay on our team who was about 5'8", 5'9". But he hasn't been on our team for a while.
Mick something. It's something like an MC, and he's still in the league, or at least he was on the Raiders last year in the beginning of the season. And he was a running back for you. He kind of came over as a wide receiver for us. But I know he was cut by your team. We picked him up. He didn't play much. I can't remember his name. But anywho, it's just trying to make the comp with DZ's player being small and fast.
Yeah, so no, but Darius, everybody wanted him to be more of a factor on offense, especially last season, and it just never came to fruition. It's just when we drafted this Keandre Lambert, KLS guy, I think he was a fifth rounder. Yeah, I believe fifth round. Everybody was like, "Oh wow, we got some speed at wide receiver now. Some straight vertical speed." But the problem is, Jack, is he wasn't available for minicamp and OTAs and such, and so he's gotta be healthy come camp on the 12th, like Navman said. When rookie camp is. So we'll see, but I'm rooting for the guy because look, man, these one-trick ponies are getting old on teams. I kind of something that Richie was hinting at, with Scott Matlock I talked about earlier, is versatility. If you could play special teams and be a wide receiver 4 or 5, and put up a couple hundred yards, a few tutties, like I'm all for it. But like I said, he played 15 games, which is great. He played majority of the season, but only 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, man,
yeah,
that's not enough for me.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump into the Broncos here as we kind of wind down the show here, guys. So my number 3 and my third Broncos guy that I see is I think it's a surprise to many, but I don't think it'll be a surprise once you hear the reasons. I believe PJ Locke will be a roster cut. Believe it or not, he was our starting safety last year after the injuries of a couple guys on the roster. So he started for us. He is a decent safety, but he was also the weak link on the team. So you're going to kind of not be surprised where I am harsh on a safety who didn't step up properly because, I've never been a fan of, say, Justin Simmons, for example, from a player perspective.
Still free agent.
And, again,
didn't Locke get hurt last year too?
He got hurt. But Locke has had a quiet off-season surgery on his back. He had a disc fusion. Now, for those who don't realize what that is, that's the same disc fusion that Peyton Manning had. You know what the difference between a quarterback and a safety is? A safety hits. A safety hits hard, like often, and that is not a good surgery for a dude who makes a living by hitting other dudes for a living. And so, if I'm PJ Locke, my next thing right now is going to be media. I want to get into the media ASAP if I have the personality for it, or I want to try to leverage myself into the coaching staff because I have definitely done better than where my draft was. He was a kind of a higher round draft pick, but he ended up starting in the NFL. So that shows that dude has got the technique that he learned over periods of time. And guys like that actually make great coaches a lot of the time. And so I'd like to see him make those transitions. Frankly, trying to play football again after having a spinal fusion and potentially like turning yourself into like a paraplegic or something along those lines as a result of doing something silly, I just don't think it's worth it. I think that he's a good dude. Like literally, I think he's a fantastic, like a good dude. Generally speaking, overall, I think he's got high character. I think he's got all that kind of stuff going for him. I'd love to see him become kind of a junior member of, say, the coaching staff and have him kind of work his way up and then kind of become a safeties coach maybe in the league. Good for him. Awesome. Love to see it. Love to see guys succeed when they really, buy rights. I hate to use that word, but buy rights really should not have done as well as he did, but he did. And that's a testament to how hard he worked to get there. So good for him. At the end of the day, though, I think he's going to be a roster cut. And I think that'll free up a couple other positions on the team with some guys that other Broncos channels and other Broncos folks are probably having PJ Locke make the team but they have not done as much research as I have, I promise you. And I think that you're going to see PJ Locke either exit stage left just as a result of the injury, or I think the Broncos are going to cut him in favor of a younger guy on the roster, like Abrams Drain, for example,
Well,
may be a guy to make
that's what I
the
was
team.
wondering,
Yeah,
Richie, is like who
yeah.
you might think would
Yeah,
take
I was
his
trying to
spot.
look it up.
Abrams Drain, I would think, is the safety that would probably
Yeah.
take that position over, or JL Skinner is another guy who was likely going to be making the team just because where he was drafted in the last year's draft or year before. But I actually think that he has developed as a player enough where he can actually start taking meaningful reps as a part of a rotation. Either way, he's not going to be a starter. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter at the NFL level, JL Skinner, but I think that he's taken the needed steps to then become at least a competent rotation backup guy at the NFL level, given the work he's put in. So between Abrams Drain and JL Skinner, I think you have two potential options on the team. And I also think that my Denver Broncos and their scouting staff, they've done a very good job at developing kind of diamonds in the rough, so to speak, like at the safety position. And
Yeah.
frankly, even in the defensive back room, like Chris Harris Jr., he's like, he was a legitimate top end player in the NFL for a very long period of time. He's an undrafted free agent.
He's not a popular name in Chargers fans.
Well, I understand that because you guys got him at the very, very end of his career where you
Well,
were hoping to get something from him.
him, Sony Michelle, and now Kyle Van Noy have all come out and said negative things about Justin Herbert,
Yeah.
like portrayed as negative, you know?
Yeah.
So they're all on the shit end of the list. But yeah, Richie, did he have this surgery off season? This off season?
Yes.
Shit.
Well, that could be a big reason why he went out and got the Niners to have a hard time. Tufunga, who I was really jealous about, man. That guy's a hell of a player, and picking him up, I could definitely see with Locke's injury. I didn't know it was back and not severe.
No,
but yeah,
I don't.
the
I don't
writing
think
could
that
just
was
be on the wall.
No, I mean, in fairness, Hufanga, I think, was going to be an off-season target for us anyway. I think that he's just such a high-quality player that he was going to be on the horizon for us regardless, just in fairness. PJ Locke, though, could have been a viable backup, but I don't think now he's going to even be on the roster. You can't have your two, like it's the discs in the upper part of his back that have been fused, if I'm not mistaken, after reading. And Peyton Manning had a similar surgery. It did not. I mean, Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning, and he has a certain work ethic, but he's a quarterback. He's not hitting guys, like I just said, right? Like it's a completely different can of worms when you are teeing dudes up and then hitting them, and basically for a living, hitting guys with enough force that it's like the equivalent of a couple car crashes nightly, right? Like, it's your body can't take that. It's not worth putting yourself through that kind of risk. It's just not. Nightly.
It makes sense. I've liked all for both you guys. I've liked the way you put it out there, and I like the players that you have chosen. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I think all of the guys that I selected are definitely people that I think are generally going to surprise Broncos fans, and I think that if I were to bet, I would think that probably at least two of the ones that I've selected are probably going to be cut.
I mean, that PJ Locke one is that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense from like or they just say F it and let's rock and roll with this guy and let's see what we can get out of him. But I know like teams don't like bad PR, right? Like if something were to happen, right?
No, what they may also do is have him designate himself as injured, keep
like
him
a
on
PUPA
IR,
or something.
keep him on the pup or IR for the
Yeah.
remainder of the season. That extends out his medical coverage as well to allow him to
Yeah.
potentially to get him through the injury as well.
Yeah.
And they don't like embarrass him as a player or anything as
Yep.
well. It's just like it's it's what they would refer to in those circles as the classy
It's like
move,
an
right?
honorary discharge instead of a
It's
dishonorable discharge.
yeah,
It,
it's
it, it shows the rest of your team you're taking care of your players.
correct,
Yeah.
correct,
Like
correct.
the guys I mentioned, the three guys I mentioned, I don't know. This staff is kind of old school. Like I could see them just keeping dudes due to their name and where they were drafted, unfortunately, which, look, I'm a fan. I'm not a head coach or, front office guy. It just seems to go that way sometimes. You're just like, why are you keeping this guy, opposed to that guy? I've been asking myself that, especially with what the Chargers have done. Not particularly with this regime, but what they've done for years, and that could have to do with ownership down, right? And so I could see some of these guys that I mentioned. Just unfortunately, I could see all three guys that I said could be potential takeovers, and Steve O'Klotz and KLS and Raheem Sanders. I can see them all in the practice squad, unfortunately, just because of who's in front of them and their name and where they've been drafted and yada yada and all that. A lot of political stuff. It seems like that teams go through that. Me as a fan, I don't like, but what do I know?
Just to put a quick bow into it, is that I know with Pete Carroll, he doesn't run a ship like that. Once you're out on that field, it's about compete. That's what it's all about. It's not about your name on the back, where you're drafted. It's how you perform, and that's what I like about Pete Carroll versus other head coaches I've had.
I agree. I agree. And remember, you have your competition day that you guys typically have under Pete Carroll. That's been his MO as well. That'll keep the ability of those young guys on the roster sharp, and they may well come up, and you could have a young guy coming from seemingly nowhere and become a starter in no time. That's how you ended up with like your Cam Chancellors and your Richard Shermans and guys like that. That's how they cut their teeth and got into the NFL and became household names. So with that in mind, guys, I have a quick announcement for our show next week. Get your pen and paper ready to ask the questions. We are going to have a show on officiating and its impact on the AFC West and the NFL. So everyone loves to talk about calls and which ones are right and which ones are wrong. Certain games that we saw last year and this year and all those sorts of things. Come prepared with those questions. We are going to have a retired NFL ref join us on the show. We may have a second one join us as well. And we are going to go ahead and start getting into the nitty-gritty of reffing and the impact on the game and that kind of stuff. Come prepared with those questions. Leave those questions below in the comments and hit us up on X. You can see my handle here, Richie Rich A. You got DZ Wilson over there, 57.
Bully Jack into getting an X account. Somebody,
and,
please bully him.
And X, Jack Kenna is not on X in order to receive your messages and participate in the NFL news. But perhaps one day, maybe one day, after all, he is from Cali. You think that he'd be supportive of the tech oligarchy there, but who knew? But anyways,
Right.
with that in mind, guys, we're gonna literally jump headfirst into the whole reffing thing next week, and that'll do us for the show this week. And until we talk about all the reffing and all the things and all the great stuff in the AFC West, where the West side is the best side. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.